after someone called Erika Kirk a pedophile protector, Erika actually did not complete the entirety of her speech. I was told that. I'm told she shortened it, and beyond that she then ditched the Women's Leadership Summit event altogether. Not staying to close out the event. That's something that Charlie always did. And beyond anything else, the reason you do that is to thank all of the organizers for their hard work. But she didn't do that.
And it's important to remember that happiness comes and goes. It is so fleeting, but the joy of the Lord withstands all. It's important to remember that happiness comes and goes, and I pray that you find it.
Disagree, come to the front of the line. If you disagree, come to the front of the line. If you disagree, go to the front of the line. You guys know how it works. You disagree, you can go to the line. We'll have a great conversation here.
Who are you?
My name is Charlie Kirk, and I love America.
Why are you here?
Because I love talking with people I disagree with.
The annual Young Women's Leadership Summit hosted by Turning Point USA on June 5th just became the latest flashpoint in a story that refuses to stay contained. And what happened inside that room is generating the kind of reaction that tells you everything about where things currently stand. Between Erika Kirk and the broader community that was supposed to represent her power base. A member of the audience interrupted Erika's speech with a direct and pointed heckle, shouting that she protects PDF files, and while the surface optics of the moment suggested Erika handled the disruption with composure and even seized it momentarily, what reportedly happened immediately afterward paints a very different picture. Sources with knowledge of what occurred behind the scenes are saying Erika cut her speech noticeably short in the wake of that heckle, and then left the event in tears, not the composed and forward-focused CEO who walked out to pyrotechnics at Amfest. Not the woman who publicly forgave her husband's alleged shooter on stage in front of thousands.
The alleged AI of Charlie saying, I appoint Erika to be the CEO. Well, Erika told me that he said that at an Aspen event. I was like, okay, great. Well, the Aspen people who were at the event said that never happened.
What?
These are the Turning Point USA donors who have contacted me and said, Candace, that is AI. He did not say that.
What?
Now, they have alleged that they have the video of that. Why do they only play the audio?
The private reality behind the public performance was reportedly someone who was genuinely rattled by a single audience member asking the question that a growing number of people inside and outside the organization are demanding honest answers to. And the significance of that private rattling is not lost on people who have been watching this situation carefully, because if the public confidence is a performance and the private reality is tearful early departure, that gap between performance and reality is exactly the pattern that critics have been documenting across every dimension of Erika's conduct since Charlie's death. What makes this moment at the leadership summit particularly cutting is the specific organizational context it occurred within.
The most important relationship in your life is the one that you have with your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. His passion was my passion, and now his mission is my mission.
I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erika would do a great job.
Turning Point USA built its entire public identity around a specific kind of intellectual courage, the willingness to walk into hostile environments, face direct and aggressive questioning, and stand firm under pressure without retreating. That was not peripheral to what Charlie Kirk represented, it was the absolute core of his brand. Charlie prided himself on debate. He walked onto college campuses knowing he would face organized and often hostile opposition, and he treated that opposition as an opportunity rather than a threat. The image of the new CEO of that organization cutting a speech short and leaving in tears after a single heckler asked a point question is one that observers familiar with Charlie's approach to public confrontation are finding deeply ironic and deeply revealing about the nature of the leadership transition that has occurred. This is all unfolding in the context of Candace Owens' sustained and escalating battle for—
Well, we were trying to protect the donor. Protect the donor from what? You asked a question. The question was reasonable, right? If he gives this presentation and talks about whatever he's going to do, you might ask a reasonable question like, hey, Charlie, you're one guy. That's how I was told the context was. You're one guy. What would happen if you weren't here? Why would they have to protect the donor from that? The donor who asked the question was Julie Fields and Arthur Fields from North Carolina.
Transparency and accountability from Erika Kirk and what critics are now calling TPUSA 2. Zero, the version of the organization that emerged after Charlie's death in September 2025 and that multiple insiders, donors, and chapter members have described as fundamentally different in character, culture, and direction from what Charlie actually built. The succession question sits at the absolute center of that battle. and it just became considerably more explosive with the latest developments. Around the video that TPUSA has been refusing to release for months, the foundational claim supporting Erika's legitimacy as CEO has always been that Charlie himself designated her as his successor, that his wish expressed before his death was that if anything happened to him, Erika should take over and that she would do an exceptional job leading the organization he spent his life building. That claim has been publicly contested from multiple directions since the moment it was made. But the specific and extraordinary detail that has always defined the problem with that claim is this. For someone as meticulous, as legally sophisticated, and as organizationally deliberate as Charlie Kirk, the only documented evidence of the supposed succession wish was an allegedly audio-recorded mention at a private donor meeting in Aspen.
After Charlie's death, and maybe even before Charlie's death, but definitively after, Marcus was meeting with and communicating with Hollywood AI deep fake companies. Okay, they specialize in creating deep fakes. Now, maybe if this was a conservative company that specialized in making videos, you might go, okay, you know, back when Daily Wire was saying they were going to explode into Hollywood, that might make sense. But why Turning Point USA? I'm going to give you the name of the company. It's VFXLA.
No written documentation, no formal legal instrument, no board resolution prepared while Charlie was alive and capable of providing clear, unambiguous guidance. Just an audio clip whose authenticity was immediately questioned, played at Amfest while Erika walked out to pyrotechnics. Wearing a glittering pantsuit, the public demand for the video recording from that Aspen donor meeting has been consistent, sustained, and entirely reasonable. If the video exists and clearly shows Charlie naming Erika as his chosen successor in terms that are unambiguous and unedited, releasing it would end the debate permanently and completely. Every question, every conspiracy theory, every alternative account of what Charlie actually wanted, all of it would collapse under the weight of clear video documentation of Charlie himself. Making his wishes known, the logic is so straightforward that TPUSA's months-long refusal to release the footage became its own evidence because
if we find that out, confirmed, this is AI, what does that signify about Erika? It signifies that she had that meeting, that it took place, and she was able to stomach it. She was able to stomach hearing her husband's voice intentionally manipulated after he was ruthlessly murdered. And she thought, okay, he's dead. What can he do for me? We can use his voice to have him hand over the company so people will not blink and they will not ask questions.
Organizations with video proof that resolves a major controversy do not sit on that proof for months, citing donor privacy concerns. Andrew Colvet's explanation for the delay, that they were protecting the identities and privacy of the donors present at the Aspen meeting, generated immediate and sustained skepticism for a reason that anyone with basic visual media literacy immediately identified. A fixed camera recording of Charlie Kirk speaking at a donor meeting would show Charlie Kirk. The donors asking questions from the audience would be audible but would not necessarily be visually prominent or easily identifiable in footage focused on the speaker. The claim that releasing footage of Charlie explaining his succession wishes required months of deliberation over donor privacy was never convincing, and it was not meant to be convincing to anyone paying close attention. It was meant to buy time. And then TPUSA released the video, and instead of ending the controversy the way they apparently hoped, the release turned the controversy into a full-scale crisis. Because the donors who were present at the Aspen meeting, the actual human beings who were in the room when Charlie allegedly expressed his succession wishes, are now coming forward publicly to dispute the video.
We decided over the weekend we were going to troll the trolls. There's this video that has become a source of controversy.
Not even controversy, just obsession from bizarre people.
Yeah, just absurd. I don't even talk about it because I think the whole thing is so lame. And
They demand overwhelming proof for the idea that Charlie loved his wife and would want his wife to carry on his mission.
Yeah. Well, it's something he told all of us. We all knew. We didn't talk about it because we thought Charlie was going to be with us for another 50 plus years. But like we all knew, the board knew this was the plan. Whatever he said.
These are not anonymous online critics. These are not people with a documented agenda against Erika or TPUSA. These are the very donors whose privacy was supposedly the reason the video could not be released for months. And they are saying publicly, specifically, that what Charlie Kirk said in that room does not match what the video shows. They are calling it AI. They are calling it fabricated. And they were there. The background detail that now carries enormous and devastating significance in light of those donor accounts, and that was reported by insiders months before the video was released, is the claim that certain TPUSA executives were allegedly arranging private consultations with a company specializing in deepfake technology. The company identified in those reports is VFXLA, an organization whose public positioning explicitly emphasized expertise in AI-generated video and deepfake production. Those consultations were reportedly occurring in the period before any succession video was publicly released.
Erika saying that she had Charlie's phone and that Charlie never texted anybody the night before saying that he thought that they were going to kill him. And that obviously reflected poorly on me because I was the one who said that he did, in fact, text multiple people the night before. And then I went on Jimmy Dore on Friday, Jimmy Dore's show, and I clarified. I said, Andrew Colbert told me specifically that he was one of the people that received this text message. So I got that first person. I didn't get that from a source. I got that directly from Andrew Colbert. And then somebody who had access to Dan Flood's communications said that Dan Flood similarly received a text message.
And when you connect that specific reported activity to the donors now publicly disputing the video's authenticity, the picture that forms is one that no amount of organizational deflection or media management can easily obscure. Andrew Colbert's response to the mounting evidence of video manipulation may be the single most revealing public statement made by anyone in Erika's organizational circle since Charlie's death. Rather than providing evidence that the video is authentic, rather than producing the unedited original recording for independent verification, rather than addressing the specific concerns raised by donors who were present at the event, Andrew reportedly characterized the entire exercise as trolling the trolls. He essentially acknowledged that the video was altered while framing that acknowledgement as a clever rhetorical maneuver rather than a confession of something profoundly serious, and nobody is buying it. Not the donors who were there, not the investigators who have been tracking this story, not the members of the public who have been demanding honest answers for months.
And I agree with you that there's something off. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, and I think that what you're describing is the process that we all went through, because you don't want to even go down that route. You're like,
Totally.
maybe it's this. Maybe in my head I was like, maybe she's being blackmailed. Maybe she's scared they're going to kill her. Maybe like you said, she just wants a quick conclusion to all of this. Maybe she's still in shell shock and is actually not controlling anything at Turning Point, was my initial suspicion. And just on paper, she's CEO, but she's actually just home crying every day and like behind the scenes, like, you know, Tyler or Justin.
And certainly not Candace Owens. Because here's what Andrew Colbert's admission, however it was framed and whatever rhetorical packaging it was, delivered in actually means when you strip away the performative confidence and look at the substance. If the video showing Charlie naming Erika as his successor was altered, if it was produced using AI technology to create or modify footage that did not exist in its shown form as a genuine unedited recording of what Charlie actually said, then the entire legal and organizational foundation of Erika Kirk's CEO position is fabricated, not disputed, not contested based on differing interpretations, fabricated. The document on which her authority rests was allegedly manufactured using the same technology that was reportedly being researched by TPUSA executives in the months before it was released. The implications of that specific conclusion for every other question this story has raised are profound and extend far beyond the organizational succession dispute, because if Erika Kirk was willing and able to collude in the fabrication of her deceased husband's voice and image to manufacture evidence supporting her claim to control of his organization, if she walked onto a stage in a glittering pantsuit to the sound of her husband's AI-generated voice, passing his life's work to her while knowing that voice was manufactured, then
I have evidence of that. In the weeks following Charlie's assassination, she shared with people that Charlie and her were due to sign updated end-of-life documents on September 15th. Let me say that again. Charlie and her had an appointment and a date to sign updated end-of-life documents on September 15th, the Monday after he died. That is remarkable timing. That Charlie was just about to update his will, but then he didn't make it to Monday. Like I said, I trust the sources on this one. So how are we to interpret that?
the question of what else she is capable of and what other aspects of the official narrative around Charlie's death and aftermath may be similarly constructed becomes genuinely urgent and genuinely terrifying in its scope. Now connect that specific and devastating question to the detail about Charlie's end-of-life documents, because this is where the timeline becomes most damning and most impossible to explain through any innocent framework. Charlie Kirk had reportedly scheduled private meetings with legal counsel in the week immediately preceding September 9th. The specific purpose of those meetings was to update and make changes to his end-of-life documents. Legal experts who have commented on this detail are clear and consistent in their explanation of what end-of-life document changes typically signify. These are not casual administrative updates or routine maintenance of estate planning. Changes to those documents are made in response to major and specific life circumstances, divorce proceedings, new family additions, significant relationship changes that alter who should benefit from and control an estate. The kind of changes you initiate when something fundamental in your life has shifted and the existing documents no longer reflect your actual wishes about who should receive what and who should make decisions on your behalf. Charlie was preparing to make those changes. He had the meetings scheduled, and then he was killed before those meetings could take place. Whatever Charlie intended to change about his end-of-life documents, whatever the major life circumstance was that motivated the scheduling of those legal consultations in the days leading up to his death, those changes were never executed. They were buried with him. and the person whose position and financial interest would most directly have been affected by whatever Charlie intended to change in those documents is the same person who is now in control of his organization, his name, his brand, and the vast commercial and political ecosystem built around his legacy. The donor pressure dimension, the documented and reported pressure Charlie was experiencing from Israeli donor networks over his position on the Israel cause adds the geopolitical layer to a picture that already contained personal betrayal, organizational manipulation, and alleged document fabrication. Charlie's private text describing feeling bullied by donors over his refusal to distance himself from Tucker Carlson and his expressed intention to leave the pro-Israel cause entirely have been in the public record since Candace shared them. Charlie was feeling threatened, not just politically or financially, but personally, and he reportedly identified specific people and specific pressures as the source of that threat in the days before he was killed. When Candace raised those texts and the concerns they raised with Erika, when she directly asked Erika about the donor pressure and the safety concerns Charlie had been privately expressing, Erika's response was to deny the entire picture. She claimed it was untrue, and she supported that denial by pointing to her possession of Charlie's phone as evidence that she would know whether such communications existed. But Charlie's phone, a device that would contain the most direct and unambiguous evidence of what Charlie was thinking, who he was communicating with, and what concerns he was expressing in his final days, should by every standard of legitimate homicide investigation be in the possession of law enforcement as evidence. The fact that Erika had it raises its own set of questions that the investigation into Charlie's death has not publicly resolved. Candace has been publicly transparent about the evolution of her own thinking about Erika's role in this situation. She initially approached Erika's conduct with a framework that allowed for the possibility that Erika herself was under threat, that she might performing the CEO role under duress, controlled and coerced by the same forces that allegedly had Charlie under pressure in his final months. That framework was genuinely charitable and genuinely reflected Candace's attempt to understand behavior that was otherwise deeply inconsistent with how a genuine and loving widow should be expected to behave. But the accumulation of evidence, the disputed audio, the disputed video, the donor accounts, the alleged deepfake technology consultations, the end-of-life document timing, the possession of Charlie's phone, the systematic suppression of internal questioning, has pushed Candace to a conclusion that is considerably less charitable and considerably more alarming. Erika may not be a coerced victim operating under external pressure. She may be an active and willing participant in something that goes to the heart of what happened to Charlie and why. The internal pressure for Erika to resign is the development that most directly threatens the organizational status quo that her team has been working to maintain since Charlie's death. Remaining members and donors with significant standing within TPUSA are reportedly making private demand that Erika step down, that her departure has become necessary to preserve whatever remains of Charlie's organizational legacy and donor trust. This information is emerging slowly and through limited channels because the organizational machinery that Erika controls has significant capacity to manage and suppress internal dissent, as documented by the termination of Aubrey Like and the departure of Mason Lemley and others who raise questions from within. But the fact that this demand is being made at all by people with the organizational standing and the financial weight make it consequential, signals that the internal pressure is reaching a threshold that the standard suppression mechanisms are struggling to contain. The comment from a longtime TPUSA supporter that has been circulating widely captures the specific devastation that the deepfake revelation had produced among people who genuinely believed in what Charlie built. Now TPUSA can deepfake Charlie saying anything Israel is willing to pay for. That statement is harsh, it is pointed, and it reflects the specific and irreversible damage that the video controversy has done to what credibility the succession claim had retained among people who were still trying to give Erika the benefit of the doubt. Because once you have accepted the possibility that the video was fabricated, once the donors who were in the room are publicly saying it does not reflect what actually occurred, the question of what else might have been fabricated becomes impossible to answer reassuringly. The other comment that has been spreading widely is even simpler and even more devastating in its directness. This is not Charlie Kirk's TPUSA. 4 words, but they carry the full weight of everything that has been documented, alleged, disputed, and revealed across the months since Charlie's death: the pyrotechnics CEO transition, the merchandise enthusiasm at memorials, the firing of questioners, the loyalty purges, the disputed audio, the disputed video, the deepfake technology consultations, the donor denials, the wedding ring removal, the separate sleeping arrangements, the will update attempt, the end-of-life document meetings, the suppressed audit, the missing whistleblower, the flight timeline contradictions, the possession of Charlie's phone. All of it compressed into one observation from someone who knew what Charlie's organization was supposed to be and can see clearly that what currently exists in its place is something fundamentally different. The final question that this accumulation of evidence keeps forcing into the open is one that the official's narrative has never honestly engaged with, because engaging with it honestly would require acknowledging everything that the official narrative has been constructed to obscure. A man who preached consistently and publicly about traditional gender roles, who recorded himself agreeing with his wife that women with young children should be focused on family rather than career, who left a note in his office explicitly stating that family comes before careerism, who had zero documented history of public statements suggesting he intended his wife to lead a major national political organization if something happened to him, that man somehow in the days before his death, while under reported personal safety threats and reportedly preparing to make significant changes to his legal documents, designated his wife as CEO of his life's work. And the only evidence supporting that designation is a video whose authenticity the donors present at the event are publicly disputing. That contradiction between everything Charlie said and did while alive and what the organization now claiming his legacy says he wanted does not resolve through charitable interpretation. It does not resolve through patient waiting for more information. It resolves only through honest and transparent disclosure of the actual documentation that either confirms or contradicts the succession claim. And that disclosure is the one thing that TPUSA has consistently and aggressively refused to provide in the months since Charlie's death. The silence keeps speaking, and what it keeps saying is louder than anything the official narrative has managed to produce.